guy that will bring up what happened in El Paso and Dayton with the guys? Has he already done so maybe?
No, it hasn't come up yet. I mean, obviously that's very
Right.
recent news. Very recent news, but yeah, I mean, I don't think anything's off limits. I mean, Coach Day is one of the realest human beings I've ever been around. I mean, as great as a football coach as he is, I mean, he's really just an unbelievable human being and outstanding mentor for our guys. So I don't think anything is off topic. You know, anything is not able to be discussed. So yeah, I mean, absolutely, I think we could talk about any sort of commitment.
Matt, when you guys are pondering options at punt return, how do you balance reliability? I know this guy's going to catch the ball every time, and maybe against other guys who have a little more juice, maybe have a better chance to break something. What's that like?
That's a great question. Yeah, you hit the nail on the head. I mean, you've got to have a reliable, accountable guy back there. At the end of the day, you want to make sure that you possess the ball at the end of every punt. We understand how important the battle of field position is, and the turnover battle. Make sure we win that. So, I think the deal is, you have your guys you feel really good about, but you have a pool of guys that you work consistently, and you just have to make some decisions, and you try to put the younger guys that don't have as many reps. You try to put them in a position where they've got to catch punts with live bullets coming at them, and some game-like situations. You got to try to simulate that.
Is there anything when you have a guy like KJ who is so important to the offense, obviously? How does that influence whether you think he maybe should be the primary punt returner or not? Is there any reluctance to put one of your most important offensive players as your primary punt returner or no?
Well, KJ's outstanding. We know what we're going to get there. But we're a program that believes in playing our best players on special teams. So I think we've got like I said, a pool of guys that we feel good about, hoping to continue to develop some younger guys. Again, I think you got to pick your battles there. Do you be smart about when you use certain guys, and can you use the same guy every time? Maybe not. And again, I think that's why you try to build depth there.
How much continuity is there? Special teams was kind of Urban's baby, so now with him out and you in, how much continuity is there versus how much have you sort of made it your own?
If it ain't broke, don't fix it. So things have been done really, really well here. I would say at an elite level. And really that's what we're trying to do is sort of a slogan for this camp is let's make the best better. We've used the analogy of the New England Patriots or LeBron James, Tiger Woods, some of the best to do it in whatever their respective sports are. And if you win one Super Bowl, what's your approach to is that it? I mean, are we elite? Here we are. We've arrived, and what's your approach from there? That's kind of our mentality. We've been excellent here, but we want to reach a new level if we can. And obviously the bar's been set very high, and we just want to continue to try to push forward.
And you look at there is room to. Obviously, the coverage teams have been pretty good. That a couple years ago, not so much, but there haven't been a lot of explosiveness in the return game. Is that you look at that as a place that there's real opportunity to improve things?
Yeah, I think obviously we want to be explosive on return units where we can for sure. I know there hasn't been a lack of points being scored around here, so that's for sure.
I've always wondered about that, right? That if you guys catch the punt and get the possession, you have a good offense. Like, you probably feel good about your chance to score. How does that influence your decision on punt return? Because maybe there are some teams out there who just realistically don't have quite as much confidence in their offense, and they think, man, we might have to be a little more boom or bust on this return. We'll take a shot because we need somebody to bust something because we can't score 50 points a game with our offense. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, how does that factor into the thinking?
Well, it's game to game, game by game, and situationally within the game. You got to see how the flow of the game is going, and maybe you want to call for a block and try to go get one. Maybe you want to set a return. Maybe it's a time to just say, hey, let's just make sure we get possession here. If you got a team that's backed up, if you can just field the ball, you get the ball in the plus 40, you got a chance to get down and score. So it's situational. But having said that, we want to be aggressive. So when we get our chances, we want to make sure we got a good scheme. We're going to be techniqued up, and I know our guys are going to play really hard. So we have a lot of confidence in our ability to maintain possession and also give ourselves a chance to increase field position.
So this is how I've thought about it, and I like to throw questions out so you can tell me how wrong I am. So, like, all those of us who have covered this team for a long time, it's like I think we've been for 15 years looking for the next Ted Ginn, right? The guy who just every time the punt goes back to that guy, you hold your breath because you don't know what's going to happen. And sometimes I've thought, like, this place is filled with 4-3 guys all over this roster. We know how fast these guys are. And as Mark has said, sometimes, right, it's not been quite as explosive as maybe you would think when you think of all the great talent and fast dudes at Ohio State. Like, if I think, hey, you have a bunch of fast guys, you guys should be busting punt returns for touchdowns all the time. Tell me why that thinking is, hey, you might be onto something there, or why you're totally thinking about it wrong.
Well, despite what it might look like on TV, they're harder to come by than you might think.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say the average punt return is explosive, or certainly not for a return touchdown. And again, I'll say it again, there has been no lack of points being scored here.
Right.
So I will say that. So, I think you got to find that happy medium of playing the field position battle and picking your fights. You just have to play situational football and be really smart about how you approach it.
And if you guys field a punt, you fair catch it, or you just have a return that doesn't get many yards, but you get possession, and then the offense scores a touchdown, the special teams did its job in that situation.
If we maintain possession of the ball, absolutely. That's a great place to start. But again, where we can be explosive, we want to be explosive. Absolutely.
Can you maybe just run? We saw that when practice started the other day. That was like the only thing we got to see. But some of the names that were out there catching some of the punts. Are there any of the candidates you can just sort of talk about?
Yeah, sure,
like,
absolutely. And I'm sure I will leave somebody out here. But you mentioned KJ Hill, CJ Saunders is outstanding. Some younger guys, Jalen Gill's done a great job for us there, works his butt off, catching those punts and getting ready. Garrett Wilson's another young guy. So there's a myriad of guys that we feel really good about. And again, I'm sure I left somebody out somewhere. So just trying to continue to develop, the right guy at that spot.
How's Garrett Wilson been returning?
Outstanding. Yeah, really good. He's smooth. He's got unbelievable ball skills. He's got confidence that far exceeds his years. So expect good things from him.
You feel okay putting the true freshman back there?
If the guy's ready to go, I don't care. Yeah, absolutely.
Matt, you said in the spring that the gunner position, not gunner, was pretty wide open. Has that been narrowed down at all? It looked like we saw Chris Olave out there with the ones and we saw punt. Like, does he have a spot in that role? Who's working?
Well, we're sure hoping because he can really run. But it's an open competition, and that's something that's been reinforced by Coach Day is how important that position is. I mean, talk about outstanding gunner play. I mean, we epitomized it last year with Terry McLaurin and those guys doing an outstanding job. So, is that depth chart fixed right now at gunner? No, absolutely not. But I'm at practice 3, and I'm not sure whose depth chart is fixed right now. So we're still working our way through that. It's a great challenge for our guys and an opportunity for somebody to emerge. But you mentioned Chris Olave. I'd sure love it to be him because he could really run.
Is it just straight line speed you're looking for there? Or what else goes into that?
There's a little bit more to it. I'd say that obviously speed is a huge factor. I would say it's not only how fast do you run, but it's speed between the ears. And it's a willingness to go get it done, and it's mentality as much as it is speed.
Matt, I was asked a couple times if you guys would continue. Urban wanted the kickoff to the corner, trying to pursue and make some plays happen there. The rules changed. What do you guys envision with the kickoff approach there?
Well, I mentioned before, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. But, we want to add some wrinkles here and there when we can. But at the same time, we've got unbelievable players. We've got a really good kicker coming back. We're not trying to reinvent the wheel there. We just want them to play fast. That'll be the biggest thing, is just get our guys running really fast, playing extremely hard, and go front the returner out.
How has the rule changed with the fair catch now that there's been a year or so with that? How has that changed the thinking in that part of the game?
Kick off or kick return?
Well, either one.
From a kickoff standpoint, we're just going to go cover. We're going to kick them and we're going to go cover. And if they choose to fair catch it, so be it. From a kickoff return standpoint, again, we'll be smart about what we do, but we're going to be explosive. We're going to strive to be anyway. And, I think we've got the returners to do that. And as importantly as that, I know we've got guys that are willing to go block and sell out for their team, even in a less glorious position. I know our guys will go do that. We're going to get them techniqued up. I know our guys are going to play hard. That's the culture of our program. We're 4 to 6, A to B in everything we do, and that doesn't change on special teams.
Were you guys using the two-man wedge at all before? Do you have to adjust to that rule? Or?
On kickoff return, I've done it in the past, yeah, but it's really not a tough adjustment. We'll just be smart about how we space those guys.
Do you have to make sure that you kind of especially early on, that you reinforce, because obviously they could drift together accidentally?
Well, we just have to be really smart about how we build it as coaches and make sure that we don't put those guys in that position. If that happens, that's my fault.
I know you've talked before about how special teams is just football and it's kind of a way for guys to learn how to play. Are there any young guys you're really seeing stepping up already in camp on special teams?
Ton of guys. And really it go all the way back to the spring. Like the first guy that comes to mind is Marcus Crowley. And it's really cool just to watch his progression as he got here in the spring, and just wasn't quite sure about the technique initially, and then next thing you know, I mean, he looks like an experienced guy. Bryson Shaw's another guy's done really well early on. Craig Young, Cade Stowe. I mean, there's a ton of guys. I could keep going on and on. Our young guys care so much. That's the thing about Ohio State football players. If you don't work hard and care here, you stick out like a sore thumb. It's different than any other place I've ever been.
What are the biggest things you're teaching those young guys in those first few days of practice about how to excel on special teams?
Play hard. Play hard. It's effort and technique. So if we can get the technique right, great. But we're going to start with effort.
Is that a good place to cultivate that? Because, I mean, special teams is a lot of just getting from point A to point
Absolutely.
B, more so than the other offensive defense.
That's a great point. And that's what we tell those guys, where offense or defense, there's more nuance, there's a lot more variables, there's more moving parts. Special teams, again, we talk about reducing the game to effort and technique. So, go play as hard as you can. And then if we can get those guys honed in on techniques, which we spend a lot of time, I'd venture to say we spend more time here on technique than probably anywhere else. So if we can get them playing hard and with great technique, they got a chance.
Why did